Hi everyone. Okay, so I'm Malachi. Nice to meet you all. I wanted to create a video about branding and web development, or basically building a website. Um, Prior to becoming a DJ and stepping into this world, I was a branding consultant, graphic designer, and web developer for 8 years. I had my own business and I worked with a variety of clients, mainly ranging from musicians, artists of various kinds, like writers, painters, um, and also not-for-profit organizations. That was my main clientele. Um, so what I really want to start on is branding. The most important thing and essential thing to get sorted well before you even think about a website. And here I'll explain why that's got to be your first port of call. So branding, right? Your branding, when people look at branding, they get quite daunted about it because they don't really know where to start. They don't understand really what branding really means. So I'm going to break down what branding means. Essentially, branding is you. It's everything that encompasses you. So what you stand for, what you believe in, what you want people to know about you. That is what branding actually is in the simplified terms. I could make it complex, but I'm gonna put it into very simplified terms here. So let's say, for instance, you are into, I don't know, art for some reason, and you want to incorporate that into being a DJ. So that is an aspect of you that's important to you. You got to reflect that in your branding, your essence. Who are you within yourself? Because that is what people want to see about you. They want to know about you. They don't want to know about how you've copied somebody else or how somebody else's branding looks great. This is about you. And that's a really, really important thing to consider when you're starting off on your branding journey. A branding journey is not a quick experience. It's quite a process. What I recommend for anyone that wants to go on a branding journey, before even contacting someone that does graphic design and branding, is to get a journal, a book, or whatever, and start writing down what you envision for your branding. Your branding also has a lot to do with your name. So you could be using your full name, you could be using your DJ stage name, but that is important. So you would start off with something like that. So you'd start off with your name, and then you write down everything that represents your name, what you stand for. You might be a DJ that's into only drum and bass. So you could make your whole theme, your whole branding around drum and bass. But the important thing there is to take that, so you'll put your name, write down drum and bass under it, for instance, and think about everything that encompasses drum and bass for you, and sort of start to write down just what comes up for you, like what you feel when you think about drum and bass, and that's a good guideline to get started on your branding. And just let it flow, let it build from there. Like, don't try and control it or think that it needs to be perfect. And why I say that is because when you get to the stage where you're ready to approach a branding consultant or a branding person that does branding and graphic design, they're trained for this. They know what to do. They have their own process, and they will walk you through it. But I can tell you from experience, the amount of clients I had come to me initially when they first started out with me, not knowing what the heck they even wanted, I tell you, it made my job so much harder. I had to do work that I shouldn't have had to do because they hadn't thought through what they wanted. They had no concept. And you know, that comes down to having a consultant, a branding consultant, to decide that before you even move forward with the next step of your branding journey. But some people don't want to take that path. They just want to come up with their own ideas and go through to the next step, which is contacting a branding designer and graphic designer. They kind of go hand in hand because branding has a lot to do with graphics as well. You know, it's design work, but you have to have that core needs and desires in place of what you want your branding to represent about you. Another thing too is when you approach a graphic designer and branding designer, they will have their process and they will let you know of what their process is. So when you're looking around on the web for these people in this profession, make sure you read through their website properly, because they design their websites to a point where it's very exact. The process should be very clear. They explain that up front. Check out their services, check out what they do, make sure you know what you're after and what you want, because it's going to save you a lot of time and headaches, and it's also going to save them a lot of time and headaches that's unnecessary. What else? A brand also is about longevity. I think I said that right. Anyway, longevity, that's it. So you might change your brand 10 years down the track, and that's fine. Like, that's normal to change your brand, because you grow and you change, and sometimes your branding no longer fits who you have become, because that's just what we do, we grow, so we need to change our branding. However, initially, your branding is what's going to keep you grounded. Your branding is there to remind you of who you are, because it's really easy to lose your way in your career. And it doesn't matter what type of career it is, whether you're a DJ, whether you're an artist, whether you're a CEO, it really doesn't matter. Your branding keeps you grounded. It keeps reminding you of who you are, because, as I said, it is easy to get lost. So that's another really important reason to have branding. It helps you get solid. It helps you get grounded, it helps you get rooted, and it helps you know exactly who you are, what you believe in, and what you want your audience to know about you. So I really recommend, if you're serious about your career as a DJ, then I really do recommend considering getting your branding done. And really, like don't just go, oh yeah, I think it would be good. Like nobody needs to be in your confusion with you. Like, you need to get clear on what you want, because if you're not, it's gonna stuff around people that don't need to be stuffed around. You know, they're there to do a job, and if you don't have clarity and you're not grounded and you don't know what you want, please don't take the journey, because it can be really frustrating for people that desire to work with you, but you're not clear. So get clear on what you want. If you don't want to take the journey and be serious about it, don't do it. Branding is a serious journey. It will take you a couple of weeks to really get nutted out, to really get the end result, but I can promise you it's worth it. I mean, even me now as a DJ, I've had my own branding done, and it wasn't easy, but I really am very happy that I did get it done, because like I said, if I feel if I didn't have it, I feel I'd get lost and I wouldn't know who I am. You know, in this journey, we know that we grow, we change, and we're constantly developing ourselves, we're constantly evolving, we're finding ourselves, we're finding where we fit, we're finding what works for us, we're finding where we want to be, and how we want to show up in the world. And you know, that can be difficult and very challenging. So the more you can do that's beneficial to keep you grounded and to keep you rooted and to keep you focused, the better. So branding is I believe your first port of call in starting your journey in being a serious professional DJ. Start with your branding. Also, another thing, if and when you decide to go with a branding consultant, right, we've just talked about having your core ideas of what you want to represent in your branding, okay? Now, what I want you to try and remember here is it's really easy to hold so tightly to that. You know, you might be having these images in your mind of like, oh yeah, it's going to look like this, and this is how I want it to look. I understand that. It's an exciting time, I get it, but please don't hold on too tightly. Because I'll tell you why. When you go and work with a graphic designer and a brand who does branding for a living, they'll feel it. They are creative. That's part of their role. They're professional. They should be anyway. It should show their experience and what they've done and what they're offering. But at the end of the day, they are also artists. They also are creative. So you really have to allow them to create for you. And that's when it comes down to trust. You have to trust that they're going to do and deliver the best possible results for you. So let them be creative. Don't hold on too tightly to your ideas, because what they come back with will more than likely actually surprise you, and you might actually like what they've designed. If you want to do a design in your own head, then please do it yourself. Like, go ahead and design your own designs and do it the way you see it in your mind, but do not control a graphic designer, because they will feel it. And if you get too controlling, they will most likely just say, I don't think we're a good match, and I think they can cut the project. So it's just a word of advice from experience, from clients I've had. You know, it can be a real nightmare for a graphic designer. So just keep that in mind. I think I'll just leave it there with the branding now. So we're going to move on to web development. So before we move on to that, when you've had your whole branding, you've gone through the branding process, you have all your branding, you have your files, you know, you're going to get a master file, you're going to get a PNG file, you're going to get an SFG, SVG file, you're just going to get all these files. The person that has designed it for you will explain all these different files and what they for, but just to give you a snapshot, a master file is basically your branding portfolio that you would give to a, let's just say you want to get t-shirts designed. You give the whole lot to them, and they have your branding profile, and they run off that. So branding is colors, fonts, designs, the whole bit, so that it just makes the whole job a whole lot easier for when you're getting things designed, like, you know, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, whatever it is that you want to get designed. That's what a master file is for. SVG files are basically files that you can manipulate. So you can, so you have a logo, you can change the colors of your logo, not the design, but you can change the actual colors to reflect your social media or your website or wherever you're using your branding. PNG file is basically just a file that has all your branding in it, that you use mainly for the web. So social media, websites, or if you're doing posters, if you're doing things like advertising, basically advertising yourself, like printing posters or flyers and going to stick them around in places and stuff like that. That's basically what a PNG file is for. You'll also have a JPEG file, which is pretty standard. Everybody knows JPEG, which is either JPEG or JPG. It's just a general file. And those are the four main types of files you get. But once you have your branding done, in my line of work that I did, you really shouldn't build a website until your branding is done. Because again, like I just explained, your files that you'll receive have your colors, your fonts, your logos, the whole bit. That makes it so much easier when you're going to get a website design. If you choose a web developer, you just hand them the files and say, here's my branding. They'll know exactly what to do with that. And they can then take your branding and they can incorporate it into your website. So that's another reason why it's important to consider getting your branding done first before even thinking about a website. So now onto a website. Your website is again similar to your branding. It's representing you. The only things you're really adding is your information about you. So you could you could decide, okay, I want a 5-page website, and on this website is going to be about me, my music, awards that you might have won, and how to contact you. So a 4 to 5 page website. Essentially, you decide what's going to go on your website. If you work with a web developer, they're not going to decide that for you. That's something that you have to decide. That's something you have to know to tell them, okay, these are the things I want on my website. All right? Most of the time, graphic designers, web developers, you've got two options there. You can either create your own copy. Your copy means essentially what's going to be written on each page. So you could have this concept of mind, okay, I'm having a 5-page website, X, Y, and Z is going to be each page, and this is what I'm going to write on each page. You can write it all yourself. You don't need to have the web developer write it for you. Or you can say, you know what, I just really am not good at writing content. Can you please, here's all my information. It might be all convoluted and messed up and everything, but they'll take care of that. They'll be just pass us the information, send it in documents or whatever, however they choose to work with that. And they can actually do the copywriting for you. So another thing, when you're looking for a web developer, again, like with graphic design, make sure that when you're checking them out and researching who you want to go with, make sure that you really do check them out, like what their services are and what they do, because some web developers just flat out refuse to do copywriting. I mean, it's very rare because it's such a important aspect of developing a website, but just make sure that they offer that service in case you do want it. That's what I recommend anyway. But of course, feel free to write your own. It doesn't need to be perfect. When you write it, you could say, you know what, I've written all my content for my website. It's not perfect, and they might just manipulate the words a little bit to make it, just give it that a little bit more punch, like a little bit more, so it's not lacking in being able to reach your audience. That's important as well. You have to sort of make that connection and make that impact, because really your website is your selling point. I know this doesn't sound great. It feels like it's just bland and it's ripping the soul out of what you're trying to create, but this is your chance to shine. That's your website. This is your chance to really show people who you are without them meeting you in person. There's many limitations there, like we can't meet everybody. So this is a way of meeting people without meeting people. So what goes on your website is really essential that you get that right. And like branding, your website is not going to happen overnight. It could take a number of weeks, and the important thing to remember with branding and with getting a website done is patience. And it's going to take a whole lot of patience. But the end result is completely going to be worth it should you choose to go down this path. I guess in a professional opinion, without your branding and without a website of some sort, I think people don't take you as seriously. I think when you have your branding done and when you have a website, people sit up and pay attention a little bit more to be like, okay, cool, we can now get to know this person. It pays off. The investment, not just on a financial level, but on a personal level. I can't stress enough how beneficial it's going to be for you. You don't have to do this. I'm not saying, I'm not pushing anything. I'm not trying to force anybody to do anything. I'm just simply outlaying the reasons why I feel it's going to be a beneficial business decision, personal decision, and professional decision to really sit down and consider this seriously. It will change your life, and it will change you as you go along this journey. You will really, really get to know yourself a lot more, and you'll find out things about yourself that you probably didn't realize or just didn't know about yourself. But look, I can't recommend it enough. And again, though, I stress to have patience in the journey, because it's going to be a journey. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your branding or your website be built. Now, if you don't want to get branding done and you just want to have a website, you can do that if you want to. You could have a simple one-page website. What as a web developer we would call that a landing page. Okay? A landing page basically is just one long page with absolutely everything to know about you on it. But on that landing page, it can have, say you might have a newsletter on your landing page. It can have a link to an external site where people can sign up to receive your newsletter. That's another option that you can do. Some people prefer a one-page a site, and but it's in saying that there really is no wrong or right. It doesn't matter if you have a one-page website or you have 5 pages. In saying that, if you decide to go down the road of having a 5-page website, I don't recommend any more than 5 pages. Like branching into 6 or 7 pages, or having like subgenres underneath a menu item. You've got your 5 up top, and then you've got you might have a drop down menu under one of your menu items, and that's a subgenre. It's just another added page to take away from the top menu, so it doesn't seem so bunched together and a bit too much. What you're aiming for, what people like when they go to a website, is a few things that you've got to remember here. They like it to be seamless. Seamless means easy. They don't want to stuff around trying to figure out where to go, how to find this, how to find that, what do I do here. It needs to be seamless, it needs to be comprehensive, and it needs to flow. It needs to be very nice and fluid, and not too convoluted, not too busy. People just, they won't pay attention. They'll just get annoyed with it, and they'll just be like, yeah, you know what, I want to go and look at something else now, because it's taking up too much of my time. It's too hard to navigate, and I just don't have the time. Unfortunately, as much as we would like people to spend time on our looking through our stuff, people have a mentality that I just want to get this done. They want to be wowed. They want to be like, okay, this is amazing. I'm like, you got me at hello, basically. And they just want to know about you. They want to know about what you do. They want to know, where you might be performing, or just keep it to the important things. Don't fill your website with unnecessary information. So when you're thinking about designing your website, just think about what's important to you. Like, what do you want to go on there, and keep it simple. Minimalistic is always like the best way I recommend to go with websites. You just don't want it to be too busy because it just gets too much for people. Now, the thing is, financially wise, yes, it's a investment, okay? So your branding will be an investment financially. Your website will be an investment financially, okay? But it doesn't need to cost you like an arm and a leg. I'm not going to go into all of that now because I'll just be here forever, and I just don't have forever. But investigate whether you want to build your own website, which is now totally possible with all the new technology that's out now. Like, there's so many more options. When I started, 8 years ago, basically there was nothing. There was just WordPress and a few other smaller options, but nothing compared to what we have now. I started off building from WordPress, which is very complex. You need to know coding to build WordPress. I don't recommend going with WordPress, by the way. Please don't go with WordPress. I only recommend WordPress for large companies, but smaller type businesses, no, just completely, just forget about WordPress. Explore other options. You can build your own website these days. It's not impossible. Again, it's a process and it's going to take patience. The trick here is to decide on your time factor. Okay, so what time do you have? Do you have time to sit with that process and be patient and learn how to design, through the various options that are available in technology now? Or do you just like, I just don't want to do it, and I really don't have the patience or the creativity. I'd rather just hand the work over to somebody who is skilled, experienced, and knows what they're doing, and they can get it done. That's a choice that you need to make. So look, there is just, I've been doing this for 8 years. There's like so much I can tell you, but I think I've got at the main points of consideration that you need to consider seriously if you want to have this as a long-term career in music and DJing, or you just simply want to do it as a hobby and nothing more, really. It's your journey. It's completely up to you. But if you're looking for longevity in your career, what I've just given you will be very beneficial to you. Last but not least, if you found my content and helpful to you and beneficial, please leave me some compliments in the comments box. That would be really great. If you have any general questions, I'm not talking massive big questions, just general small questions, again, hit me up in the comments box and I'll do more than I can to try and help and navigate and help you answer some of the questions that you have. And also, if you can think of anybody else who would find this video helpful, share it. That's all, pay it forward, share it with somebody that it could help them. That's what it's all about, is doing our best to help each other. So do share it. That would be great. So that's it from me. I hope you find all this very helpful, and I hope I have been able to clear some misconceptions up and to give you a lot more of a deeper insight into branding, web development, and why it's essential. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around. Bye.